My name is Amelia Ampuero, and I am playing the role of Selena. I am originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico, by way of Brooklyn, New York. My parents are two Bolivian immigrants who came to this country in the early 1970s with my oldest brother, a suitcase, and $100. They lived in Miami for a little while, then moved up to Brooklyn, where my middle brother and myself were born, and then we made the cross-country drive to Albuquerque, and I've been an Albuquerquean ever since. Growing up in Albuquerque was an interesting experience, I guess. I don't have anything else to compare it to because I didn't grow up anywhere else, but my family essentially found a group of other like-minded Latin Americans, and lacking any type of extended family that actually lived on this continent, those people became my extended family. So I didn't have real cousins and aunts and uncles here. I had like fake ones, I guess. And I had the good Latin Catholic upbringing and all of those things, and then decided to break the mold. Both of my brothers had gone to private Catholic school for high school, and I busted out of that and went to public school, and it was all downhill from there. That's where I got into theater and all those types of things. I started taking drama classes my junior year in high school. That was the beginning of a crazy, crazy love affair. Probably the best relationship that I've ever been in is my relationship with theater. I was doing it for a while, taking classes, started going to college, and that was my major, but still sort of wandering around and playing with the idea of whether or not I was going to sort of commit my life to this. And somewhere along the way, it just sort of occurred to me, this is kind of cheesy, but I'm gonna say it anyways because it sounds honest, I guess, because it is. There is a feeling that you get when you kiss somebody new for the first time. And it's that feeling of being a light inside. That is the feeling I get every time I step on stage, every time I get in front of a camera. And to me, it doesn't make sense why I would look for something else if I've found something that gives me that feeling. And that satisfaction isn't even the right word, but yeah, why I would look for something else if that is the feeling I get every time I do this. Oof, I did 3 years at Texas Tech University. I was a Red Raider for 3 years, and then me and my high school sweetheart broke up, and I sort of looked around and saw that I was in Lubbock, Texas, and decided that maybe that wasn't the best place for me. No offense to any Lubbock Texan folks out there. But then I transferred to Texas State University, which is in San Marcos, Texas, right outside of Austin. A beautiful school, and finished up my degree there. There was about 9 months of me being back in Albuquerque and sending out resumes and, you know, going to different auditions and things like that. I ended up actually getting my degree in 2003, and that summer I did a study abroad program with the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. And then the following January, I did a month-long intensive with Shakespeare & Company up in Lenox, Massachusetts. Literally, like 10 days after I got home from that intensive, I went to the UPTA auditions, which are a massive cattle call audition. These were held in Memphis, I believe. And I auditioned there, and that is where I met Katie Brown, and there begins my relationship with the Barter Theater in Virginia. I was at Barter for about 2.5 years. My first 15 months were spent being a Barter player, which is probably one of the things I am most proud of in my entire life. Barter players are the non-equity theater for young audience troupe at Barter Theater in Virginia. We travel all over the Southeast and do shows for young audiences, for kids. There's a 3-month tour at the beginning of the year, and then the rest of the time is spent in residence in Abingdon, Virginia. It is hands down the best educational experience that you actually end up getting paid for, because not only are you acting, you're doing theater for young audiences that's intelligent and thought-provoking and bright. You're also filling in main stage roles in the big theater and in the main stage productions. And then you're also doing everything from like sweeping floors to changing light bulbs to building costumes. It is a complete immersion in the professional theater world. My contract with Barter ended in December of 2006, and I spent the next 7-8 months auditioning everywhere that was either within a 6-hour drive or a relatively cheap plane ticket. And I was walking into audition after audition and not getting hired. And it occurred to me that I was placing my career in the hands of most of the time men who I did not feel were qualified to handle my career. So I decided to pick up my ball and move to the next field, and that field was Albuquerque. Duke City Repertory Theater is a professional nonprofit theater company here in Albuquerque. By professional, we mean that we pay everybody who works for us and that we hire equity stage managers and actors. The process of getting where we are right now, which is having just closed our second season, has been a long, terrifying, terrific, amazing one. We did our first show, which was Trust by Stephen Dietz, in August of 2010, and we just sort of haven't stopped since then. Company's growing little by little, slowly but surely, but we're doing work that we are consistently and increasingly proud of, and serving the audiences of Albuquerque, the state of New Mexico, and the region of the Southwest as a whole. When the idea came to us, it was myself and co-founder Christy Wiley. You know, we had no resources and no real experience about how to do this. So the first year or so of me being back in Albuquerque was sort of just stumbling around blindly trying to figure out how to get this thing done. Dealing with things like the New Mexico Public Regulations Commission, the Attorney General's Office, the IRS, things like that, big scary institutions that you don't want to mess with too much. So we had a lot of time of dealing with those before we could actually get to creating the art that we wanted to create.
You know what Mommy did today, baby? She ate a rat.
I think that's the funniest thing about it, is that, you know, I had not been going out and trying to find an agent and, you know, trying to do a lot of extra work and those types of things. I was really committed to theater. And from knowing Scotty through Lauren, I had had a chance to see some of Trifecta's work. And when Scotty came to me and said, I have this idea for a movie where, you know, you're dealing with radiation burns, and I have this image of you eating a rat in my head. As strange as it's gonna sound, my first gut reaction was, hell yes, let's do this.
It came in here all chittering away, and I smashed it with my shoe, and I snapped its little neck, and I ate it.
Cover me in gore, put me in front of a camera, let's do this. There was never a question about whether or not I would say yes to me. It's, for me, the strangest thing about doing film is that there is a record, a history of work that is out there and exists forever and for always. That's one of the beautiful things I think about theater, is that it's in that moment and it's fleeting, and you'll never have that moment back again, even if you go and do or watch the same show over and over and over again. With film, the fact that, you know, there's a record of it that exists and will live on, you know, for God knows how long, is daunting a little bit, but it's also really exciting because you want to leave something that is beautiful. After seeing more of Trifecta's work and after doing Send, I had said to Scotty that, you know, you never needed to ask if I would do something. The answer was always going to be yes. So when I heard about Dead Billy, of course I said, yes, absolutely, sign me up, I'm there. Reading the script for the first time, it was one of those things where I had to sit with it for several days and think about what it meant, what I got from the story, and deal with the content. The things that this story deals with are things that will stick with, I think, everybody who's involved in the project, and everybody who watches the movie will stick with them for a while. It's definitely not the type of thing that you can go in and sit down and experience and then walk away from not being changed.